Hey guys, I'm Jason,
And I'm Tim.
and we're going to talk about being therapists in the media world.
Most of our job.
Yeah. So,
For you.
yeah, let's start. So, you know how many times I deal with clients that have no clue how to be in front of a camera? 88% of the time. Is that natural? Yes, it's completely natural. So, how do you deal with that?
How do you get them to look good?
How do you get them to look good? How do you get them to pose?
Because they can't just not look good. You're like, hey, you really suck in front of the camera. Here are your crappy photos. Pay me money.
Good luck.
That doesn't work because your job.
So, I'm gonna say this, and this is gonna kind of sound interesting. Actually, it might sound cruel.
I'm excited.
Yes. So, have you ever went and you go shoot with either it's a couple or it's a person, and
Yes, I've done that before.
and so you go out and you see another photographer shooting, and you look at what they're doing wrong, and you look at the way they're acting and posing around a couple, and you can tell that they're nervous, like, and that shoot or that shot they're taking could have been so much better if they would have just talked to their client a little bit more to get them to understand what you're doing more, and you want to go over there and just shake them. I know, I just want to do this sometimes. I see other photographers and I'm
I
like,
can totally see that.
and I just want to be like, just take the time
You're doing it wrong.
to talk to your client. And I think a lot of the times the best photos are when you tell the client your expectations of what you're capable of doing, and then what you're going to do to also make them look good, and how you're going to go about your process, and like educating your client.
Well, because here's the thing. When a prospective client sees your photos on the website, they don't know if that person got that way themselves or you did it. All they see is they look gorgeous. I want to look like that. I'm going to hire this photographer so I look like that. Just like with me in video stuff, every once in a while I'll get someone who, when I'm interviewing them, boom, they just go and they're passionate and it's great. And that's easy. It's super easy to do. But most of the time, I'm cutting things together to make it all work.
Yeah, and so like when I meet with clients, the first thing I ask them, well, not the first thing, after I go through my portfolio, and then I ask them, so this is how I shoot a wedding. This is how I go about it. What do you think? And I like this, I like that. And then what I ask them is, how do you deal with stress? It's the first question I ask my clients is, how do you deal with stress?
I gotta sit in on one of your client things, because you always tell me the weirdest things that you talk to your clients about.
I said, how do you deal with stress? Because what I want to know is like, on the day of her wedding, when will I know she's stressed out? Because, you can know and you can read people, but there's been weddings where I haven't been able to completely understand if my bride is stressed or if she's irritated, and why she might be irritated. I ask my client questions like, what do you not like about my images? I show them all my images, and I want them to tell me why they don't like the images that I showed them.
For what reason?
The reason why I ask them that is because I want to know what not to do at their wedding. And it also makes me better as a photographer to know, what in my style they don't like. Mm-hmm. And also it shows them that I have respect for their views. And like, I'm this artist, and what I do is art, and it's just this, and there's nothing else, and you get me, and if you want change, you're not getting it. And this defiance, I think, with the client, the client relationship in that stance. So I ask these psychological questions because I want to know what my client is feeling and how they react to things. So another thing is I ask them, what are you subconscious about with yourself?
I gotta be on one of these.
And women will usually tell me it's their arms, chin. It might be, and I'll say this, it might be a mole that they don't like. Now, and they want me to Photoshop it out of all their photos. But if I never ask that question, I like all my photos, but I just really don't like this about myself. Now,
and so you'll Photoshop a mole out of every photo?
Just not every photo, but with the bride and groom's photos, I will.
Okay.
And, I want to know what my client doesn't like. To meet those expectations. Because I think the biggest thing is to meet expectations. And to manage those expectations. Telling them, this is how high I can go, but I can't go above that. And this is how low I can go, but I can't go below that. And so, most of the time your client wants the world, but you've got to sometimes bring them back to earth. So my photoshopped images, I have one on the wall here that has everyone with lightsabers. Maybe I'll post that one right here. And so with this image, he says, I just want to do that during the wedding. And I said, well, you have to make time for that photo to happen, or I won't be able to do my job to do it. And a lot of the times I'll deal with grooms that might be drunk before that. So I'm like saying, I told him, I said, just make sure, you guys all stand up, because I can't deal with not having time to try to organize you guys if you're not going to listen because you're intoxicated or something.
But back to being a therapist.
But this is what it's like to be a therapist, is in a sense.
To know your patient.
To know your patient. So, a lot of the times, so senior shoots, I love doing senior shoots, and a lot of the times you're dealing with women who are 16 that, they Instagram all the time, they know what's popular, they're into the in things, and you are kind of sometimes lost about what's going on. No, it's true.
I hear you.
And so, what I do is I say, hey, can you send me a Pinterest board of all the photos that you like, and can you, underneath your Pinterest, can you tell me why you like the image? Or just send me images in a zip file with a letter explaining why you like the images you sent me, because then that lets me know,
I'm sure they do that
where they're at. But when, the day of the shoot, okay, so I get all that information.
To the shoot.
Now at the shoot, what happens is we have a lens. We have me as an ogre of a guy, with this young girl, all right, and her mom who has expectations as well, and then a daughter who has expectations, probably nervous because mom's around, and now you're going to teach this person a model. And so the first thing I do, I guess, with these type of shoots is
senior shoots.
Yeah, so the first thing I do, to make them feel comfortable with the psychology thing is, I said, hey, can you smile for me? And then if it's just kind of fake, then I'll talk to him about how to make a smile not fake. And I'll tell him, when I point this camera at your face, I don't want you to smile at me. I'll tell you when to smile. And when you do, that smile is going to last for a split second, and then it's going to disappear. And that's why I'm going to tell you to drop your smile. And so I'll tell that immediately. So, these psychology tricks that you're trying to get your client, and then I will say this. So then I talk about how to move your arms, legs, thighs, curves, why, perspective is important, and I educate my client through all of this. At the end of the shoot, beginning of the shoot, they were scared. They were doughy-eyed and just scared. At the end of the shoot, I get hugs and they say, thank you so much. I've never met someone who was so passionate. Usually is what I get.
And they haven't seen the photos yet.
And they haven't seen the photos yet.
Oh, so is this how you make them feel?
And I said, and then what I said I usually say this at the end of the shoot, I said, now when you take photos, you know how to take them. And they're usually so happy about that. And mom usually tells me, I just love that you teach us how to be, and you're so calm and cool and collected.
Well, and part of that I know is in your demeanor by itself as well. So,
and also with me, right? And usually inside, I'm a scared, shaky person inside, and I have people won't know this about me, but I have I get really antsy. What's the word?
Not anxious, but
I get anxious, but anyways.
There's some word.
Anyways, I'm actually looking in to go talk to a therapist about it and deal with it.
Performance anxiety?
Anxiety just in general. Performance anxiety is probably more centered to what it is. But, so I tend to, at weddings, at weddings where time is a crunch is where I call it my monster starts coming out, and I start creating more stress that doesn't probably need to be there, and it adds more stress to my couple. And I've been teaching myself. I've actually been better this year in the sense, but I have these issues. So it's a psychology thing within myself as well. If Tim,
well, because you could tell your client whatever you want, but you have to be emotionally, and you have to be putting the nonverbal communication you put forward is incredibly important to your client's nonverbal communication they're going to put to the camera.
Because in a wedding you're dealing with friends, you're dealing with family members, you're dealing with people, and not only that, but I work with my wife.
Yeah.
So, me and Sid, we live together and we work together. So there is a stress element that we have that we try hard to not have that come to the wedding. But Sid is my second-hand man, the only person I can trust. It's just how it is. But we have those things to work with, and so I think as a husband-wife team, it has its difficulties. But to not bring that into the wedding is highly important to us as well, and so it's been something that I think if you're a husband and wife team, you run into a lot. So.
I am not thinking of this.
But like with video, I mean, how do you deal with? I mean, you're dealing with people who are literally will show their emotion in front of a camera. I can trick a little bit with a photo and lie. I can lie. You
got that quarter of a second. You can grab it and go.
Oh, go, yeah. But with video, and I've done video before, you have to what you get is what you got, and then you go home and.
Well, and so with video, the tricks we get with video is editing, essentially. Being able to edit something together is really important. Something I will do a lot.
If they blink a lot, for instance, I've learned to use a lot of B-roll when they start blinking a lot because they might feel nervous, and so they do this maybe a lot.
Yeah, I try to make them relax a lot by like breathing techniques. I know it sounds real dumb, but I ask my clients to breathe in.
I tell my bride and grooms to do that all the time. Actually, I tell them, hey, can you guys do this for me for a second? Can you guys take a deep breath in? And then slowly out, and they're like, "Oh, that feels so good."
Yep,
they love it.
I do that, like, especially I just did a couple husband and wife team who run a massage parlor, and they were very nervous. But so I did a lot of that, and a lot of facial relaxing because they were smiling so much. Doing and then massaging your cheeks and whatever. Just because you're smiling and it's tough. Now usually I've done pretty short videos so far, so as far as for what to say, it hasn't been that big of a deal. Because I just ask them questions, like, why do you love what you do? Because as most small business owners that I work with are very passionate, obviously, about what they do. That's why they do it. Or else they, have a job somewhere or do something else. But that's what they want to do. So I just talk to them about their passion, and I try to get them nice and relaxed. And and sometimes I have to cut together a lot of interviews to make what I want work, which isn't my favorite thing to do. But like one time I had to cut four interviews together to get 20 seconds of dialogue, which was not very much fun. But I mean, it's and that's just trying to get very relaxed atmosphere, because even when stuff goes wrong, even when you forget gear, even when you accidentally don't turn on something, this is something I've learned myself. If I don't turn on like my microphone and accidentally record a take, it doesn't work, I sure as heck do not tell them that I did not turn on the microphone. Because as being the professional in the room, quote unquote, you're there for a job. They're putting their trust in you that you're going to make them look good, or else they do it themselves, or else they take their cell phone, they would shoot their own video, and they would never call or hire you. But with them hiring you, they're putting their trust in you that you will make them look good, pretty much regardless of them. So, or else they would hire models and actors to do their part, but they know that you can make them look good. So that's what I try and put forth. And a lot of breathing.
Yeah,
I do a lot of breathing stuff.
I think another thing that I do with posing is I tell them to stand like a robot, especially women.
I don't tell my clients to stand like a robot.
I know, but I do this for photos, and it's a good trick, something to know. I tell them to stand like a robot, and then I pose them in the same position, and then I take a picture of them. And I said, who do you like better? And they're like, I like the pose one better. And then I did one shot, right? And her shirt was coming down, and it was making her bigger. So I had some gaffer's tape that was on my lens. I always keep a little bit of gaffer's tape like around my lens because there's anytime you need it, it's there, and you just rip it off your lens hood. And I taped her shirt to make her tighter because she was quite skinny actually, but her shirt was making her like have like 30 pounds of weight. So I taped her shirt, and I showed her the picture without the tape shirt and then with it, and she's like, "Oh my God." And at the end of the day, she was like, "I've just never worked with someone so competent."
And that's something you put forth. You sure as heck might not feel it all the time, but it's something you have to put out there.
And I will tell you, and Tim knows me from the past of who I used to be, and we worked on a wedding together. He did a video for, and I did photos for.
What, Samantha's?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here's a little video of a slow-mo shot, and here's a shot I took.
Which one is better?
So, and the thing is that Tim told me even that day, he's like, "I haven't shot with you in a while. Like, you do give good direction now." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks," you know. But yeah, and because before, I was always a wallflower, and I found out that my images are the reason why they sucked most of the time is because I never communicated enough to my clients about what I was looking for out of them. And I think a lot of photographers do that. I think a lot of people in new business aspects do that.
That could be a style if you like that style. However, being a wallflower.
I understand.
However, it can also be a cop-out. It can also be a massive cop-out. And like I'm not going to set up my camera and say, okay, just go, tell me about your business. And I don't do anything to help them. I don't sit behind the camera and nod my head like an idiot to tell them to keep on going.
Anything to, saying nothing to accentuate what's there to make it better. Yeah.
You're there to make the end product better, regardless of what they give you. If they're good models, if they're good actors, great. If not, your job is to make them better, not just to bring gear and lighting and make them look better, but actually make them better on camera.
I agree.
But yeah, so wallflower can be a valid style, however, can be a totally valid cop-out.
Yeah.
You know?
And I would say I see it more as a cop-out than anything. So, anyways, here's a quick test. Go out and look at wedding photos and senior photos online and just type in wedding photography and senior photography. And then look at the images and look how much the same everything is. And then ask yourself, what are you going to do to make that different? That's a good question because I ask myself that all the time. I go and I search wedding photography and I just look at all the images. And I ask myself, what am I going to do that's different? Because the market's so flooded. And I think that's what's helped me the most. And I'm not going to say my photography is the best. It's different, but it's not the best. Because it's subjective. So
that is art. That's what we do.
Seeing it's funny. I'm like,
it's
art. I just don't.
You just don't think it's art?
I don't know what. I guess I don't give myself enough credit to call what I do art because when it becomes,
I don't know. My mind's pretty systemized. It doesn't feel like art sometimes. I mean, I have my method in general. You know, I try to get what I want, but then especially in editing, I want the emotional feel to go from here to here to here to there.
And I guess we're going off a little bit. I'll end it with this though. I think to end in what we were just kind of going on. I think the chaos, taking advantage of the luck inside of chaos and wedding photography is the art.
Yeah.
The art is
the shots that come up and you're able to grab.
Yeah, I think that's the artistic thing of wedding photography. I think street photography has the same concept as well. Where studio and portrait, you're creating, you're creating that. And I think that's why I love studio and portrait photography the most.
Because I can get control.
I can control it.
Yeah, that's why I don't like weddings. No control.
Anyways, guys, I like chaos. So we're going to leave you guys with that. And we'll guys talk to you later. I'm Jason.
And I'm Tim.
Talk to you later.